Welcome to the Deep Dive. We take your source materials and, well, we dive deep to get you the key insights fast. Today, it's all about federalism. It's a really fascinating way to understand how power actually works, in different countries. Our mission: to unpack the core ideas from the sources you gave us and see how they actually play out. And let's start with a real aha moment, looking at Belgium. Think about a country like really struggling with deep divides, language, culture. The sources talk about Belgium moving from what's called a unitary government.
Where the center basically calls all the shots.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like Sri Lanka still does today. They moved from that to a federal system.
And that shift was huge.
It really was.
Yeah.
It wasn't just moving boxes around in government. It fundamentally rebalanced power. You could argue it stopped the country breaking apart.
Yeah.
Making regions real partners, not just, taking orders.
That Belgium example really gets to the heart of federalism. Simply put, it's a system where power is, divided, split between a central government and the different regions or states of a country. And the crucial part is this: both levels, central and regional, they exercise their power independently. They're both answerable to the people directly.
Not just the central government telling the regions what to do.
Exactly. That's the big difference from a unitary system, where the central government is basically the boss of the subunits.
Okay, let's unpack this a bit more then. What are the sort of key ingredients? What makes a system really federal?
Well, looking across different federal countries, a few things stand out. First, you always have two or more levels or tiers of government.
Right, center and regions.
And second, each level has its own patch, its own areas of responsibility, making laws, taxes, running things, and that's guaranteed, usually in the Constitution.
Guaranteed. So one side can't just take powers away from the other.
Not easily, no. Changing those fundamental rules, it typically needs agreement from both levels. Consent is key.
Okay.
Then you've got the courts. They act as like umpires.
Right, interpreting the rules.
Exactly. Sorting out disagreements between the center and the regions, or even between regions.
Makes sense.
And importantly, money. Sources of revenue, how each level gets its funding, that's usually spelled out too. For financial independence.
So why go through all this complexity?
Well, it usually boils down to two main goals: keeping the country together, national unity, and making space for all the different regional identities and needs. Diversity.
Unity and diversity. Okay. Now, here's where I found it gets really interesting. The sources talk about two main ways these federations actually form. First, there's coming together federations. You mentioned the USA, Switzerland, Australia.
Right. Independent states deciding to pool sovereignty, often for, say, security or economic benefits.
And in those, the states often seem to keep quite a lot of power, sometimes equal to the center.
Generally, yes. They came together voluntarily, so they tend to guard their original powers quite carefully.
Then there's the other type, holding together federations.
Yes, this is different. This is usually a large, diverse country deciding to divide its existing power between the national government and regional units.
Like India, Spain, Belgium, again.
Exactly. And here, you often find the central government is, a bit stronger relative to the regions.
And maybe not all regions have the same powers.
That can happen too, yes. Some units might get special status or powers to accommodate their unique situation.
Let's zoom in on India then, as a prime example of that holding together type.
Okay, so India's constitution doesn't actually use the word federation. It calls India a union of states.
But it works on federal principle.
Oh, absolutely. The principles are there. The Constitution lays out clear lists of powers. You have the union-less defense, foreign affairs, banking, things affecting the whole country.
And national stuff.
Right. Then the stateless police, agriculture, local trade things, states handle.
Okay.
And a concurrent list for things they both can legislate on, like education, marriage. If there's a conflict, the union law usually prevails.
What about stuff that comes up later? New issues.
Good question. Those residuary powers, things not on any list, like, say, cyber laws initially, they generally go to the union government.
And you mentioned special powers.
Yes. India uses that to manage its diversity. Some states, maybe border states or those with distinct cultural identities like Nagaland, have special status with specific provisions, like rules about who can buy land there.
And then there are union territories, like the capital, Delhi.
Right. Those are smaller units, often strategically important or just too small to be states, and they have very limited powers. The central government runs them more directly.
So changing this whole setup, this power balance, It's tough.
Very tough. It's constitutionally protected. You can't just change the power sharing rules easily. It needs big majorities in both houses of parliament, plus agreement from at least half of the state legislatures. It requires broad consensus.
So that's the framework. But the sources also talk about how this federalism actually works on the ground in India, day to day. What really stands out there?
Well, looking at the practical side, a few things are really key to how India's federalism has sort of evolved and functioned. One major and perhaps surprising thing was the creation of linguistic states.
Forming states based on language.
Yes, or sometimes culture or ethnicity. After independence, there was debate. But redrawing the map along linguistic lines actually arguably strengthened national unity. It addressed major regional demands peacefully.
That's counterintuitive. You'd think it might divide people more.
You might, but it seems to have given different language groups a political space, reducing friction. Another huge aspect is language policy itself. India has no single national language.
Right. Hindi is official.
But it shares that status. There are 21 other major languages recognized as scheduled languages. Exams can be taken in them. States use their own official languages. Crucially, Hindi wasn't forced on non-Hindi speaking areas, especially in the South.
Flexibility seems key.
It is. And maybe the biggest step in practical federalism was decentralization, creating a third tier of government.
Below the states.
Exactly, local government. A major constitutional change in 1992 made local bodies, panchayats and villages, municipalities and towns and cities constitutionally mandatory and gave them more power and resources.
What did that involve?
Things like requiring regular elections for these local bodies, reserving seats for marginalized groups, scheduled castes, tribes, other backward classes, and significantly reserving at least 1/3 of all positions for women.
Wow, 1/3 for women.
Yes, and setting up independent state election commissions to oversee it all. It was a massive move to take democracy and governance right down to the grassroots level.
So this deep dive, looking especially at India's journey, it really paints a picture of federalism, not just as a structure, but as a dynamic process, balancing unity with this incredible diversity.
Absolutely. It's not static. It shows how power sharing can be a tool to manage complexity, to hold a vast, varied country like India together. Dividing power, in this sense, can actually strengthen the whole.
It's a fascinating way to think about how power is shared and negotiated, especially in diverse societies. What really stands out to you from all this? How might thinking about India's approach change how you view governance, maybe closer to home or even globally? Lots to think about there. Thanks for diving deep with us today.